Well, hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I know it's been a hot minute, but I'm ready to roll out some more videos. So I'm going to talk about The Presence today. This movie, a lot of people consider it horror, and I guess it really did have a lot of horror elements. It just didn't, when I think of horror, I think of something either extremely disgusting, hard to watch, or it's actually scary. And the movie Presence didn't really hit any of those marks. It was intense a little bit, just a very moderate intensity level. And it had a neat story, but there were a lot of holes in the story, and there's just not a lot that really we got fulfillment of. So let's sort of talk about the style. What drew an interest into this movie is that the filming style was meant to be. You see the person walking around, you don't see the figure because you assume it's, the ghost or the spirit or whatever. And from the camera's angle, walking around this house is the spirit. So you are literally not getting any other camera angles or shots. It's literally you're viewing as if you're the spirit. And so as it's walking around from room to room, up the stairs, into another room, hiding in the closet, there are a lot of common tropes, like spirits hiding in the closet, that I thought were pretty neat to be included in this movie. But when it comes to the spooky part of a spirit haunting someone, whenever the spirit would try to affect anything, which, to sum it up, moving an object, it didn't happen very often at all. So we didn't really feel that the presence had much of a presence in this movie. We did a little bit, but for me, just not enough. So as it's sort of viewing these characters, we have the father, the mother, the son, and a daughter. And so as the spirit sort of spying in, I guess, on these conversations, it's just conversations. Rarely do the characters think there's a presence. They're talking about their day-to-day lives. So, technically speaking, this was a very conversationalist kind of movie as far as what's actually being said and what's actually happening. There's no action, there's no gunfights, there's nothing like that. It's just one of a few characters in a home talking. And there are other people that enter the home, but the camera angle never goes outside the house because the spirit stays in the house. So you can tell that this was probably an actual house, or at least the inside set of a house, because just the way the camera angle is, they had a pretty neat set for this movie. Going up the stairs and into one room and into another. And so what we would expect is the presence to affect stuff. When it finally did move an object, it happened once, and the character, they kind of spoke about it, but it didn't feel like it was a huge impact. What the daughter eventually did, because she's the one that's closest to feeling this presence, tells the rest of her family, who quickly just dismiss the accusations. And so when they bring in an expert, of course, this expert is dismissed by her interpretations as well. And so it's sort of seeming like nothing's really going right for the characters we're supposed to root for. The brother's just kind of a crappy brother for most of the movie, and his best friend is actually hooking up with his sister. And so as we get little bits of pieces of the story from him, he's actually trying to drug her. So then it becomes a very serious storyline for this movie. And after, a failed attempt, as the movie pushes toward the climax, we finally get to see something happening where the parents are away for the weekend, and the brother gets drugged by his friend because the friend doesn't want the brother knowing that he's drugging his sister. And so as he goes upstairs, he ends up drugging her, and we find out he's trying to just straight up kill her. And it turns out that the sister, or the daughter, whichever term you prefer, her friend had died previously in the movie, or before the movie technically took place. And these friends were killed by the same guy who's now trying to kill her. And so in this sort of climactic moment, the brother runs upstairs, pushing him off of her. The two of them go out the window, and essentially they're presumed dead. And so that's the big climax for this movie. And what happens after is pretty interesting. As the family's ready to move on, 3 of them left. As they're ready to go, the mother goes and looks into this mirror and sees the spirit of her son, which means the final 2 minutes of the movie, when we're viewing as the spirit walking around, is no longer that other presence, it's the son trying to protect his family. And so the story was kind of neat. So when I talk about the holes in the story, when it comes to the conversations happening with the family, a lot of the things they're talking about does get brought up in this movie and affects part of the storyline, or it affects at least another character. But there are a few different conversations that don't really go anywhere. There are things that are brought up that are just not addressed after that one point. And so, as far as the storyline, I do think the overall plot was pretty interesting. I just wish they would have plugged some of their holes before finishing off the movie. So with that being said, since the presence is just walking around, there was no, in my opinion, jump scares. Nothing was scary. Nothing was gross. Nothing was over the top. Nothing was goofy or cheesy. It was just almost close to bland, which isn't fair for the movie because it's not exactly the term I would use. That's just the term closest to what I could describe. And so overall, I did like it. I did love it. I thought it, like I said, they had a lot of interesting components. The few characters, the actors were really, really good. They're very believable. The scenes where the cameraman's just staring at them, the actors were able to hold a one-shot conversation for like 5 minutes at a time. So whether it's improv, it's pretty dang good. Whether it's memorize their script, that's pretty dang impressive. These are long single shots in this movie. And so the last critique that I can't decide whether this critique is a pro or a con for the movie. The pacing, the way it worked is people would have a conversation. Someone would come home. Hey, how was practice? It was good. Next day. Parents, oh, we're washing dishes. What's going on, guys? Oh, everything's good. Move to another day. So the pacing kind of skipped around pretty frequent. Now, I do appreciate the style of just skipping around so we can get a larger timeline for this movie and sort of get to the things that are actually happening. I'm just unconvinced that what they kept moving on to was actually more interesting than some of the scenes that happened prior. So that's why I say I can't decide whether or not that's pro or con. So to sum up the movie, if you have an interest, I would say check it out because it is a very interesting movie because of the way it was shot. That alone makes it worth the watch, in my opinion. As far as being totally invested in the characters, it's probably 50-50 whether you're going to get invested with these characters or not. But I would say this is a see it for yourself, form your opinion kind of movie. So thank you guys for watching this review. I found it interesting. If you've seen it, let me know if you found it interesting. Thanks for watching, everyone. Keep it digging.